Hello and welcome back to Portugal Junkies.
Hey you guys!
Hope everyone's well, and we got some lovely sunshine today. We normally start it off with a quick story as well, so...
Do we have a story?
I was going to just put you on the spot and say, what story have you got for
I do have a story.
Oh, goody.
Surprise! So,
Shocker.
one thing that made me feel really good this week was that, so our apartment is across the street from this amazing, iconic restaurant in Porto called Gazella. Anthony Bourdain actually kind of put it on the map back in the day when he visited Portugal, and he came in for a cachorrino, which is a Portuguese hot dog. So it's like, picture kind of like a tiny, like link sausage, right? That's what it is. It's cut up in half inside this small, long piece of bread, but the bread is crusty. Like the bread is like
pressed, isn't it?
Oh, it's so good. It's kind of like a hot dog panini type of thing because it's very crusty. They, of course, put butter all over it, and they put the Portuguese sausage inside. But it's also known to be served with the famous Francesinha sandwich sauce. So Francesinha is completely different. We can talk about that another time because it is like one of those things where it's like everybody loves a Francesinha, and I'm like, I don't love it. Anyway, we get our cachorrino hot dogs, and then we get the Francesinha sauce on it because it's like the spicy sauce, and I'm telling you, like, we cannot find spicy food very often here in Portugal. So it's kind of like our band-aid to the need for spicy food. Anyway, I digress. This place across the street, Gazella, took a 2-week holiday, as many restaurants do.
Good for them, but
I know.
How bloody dare they?
I know. That's like our staple. So what did we eat for 2 weeks? Anyway, so they took holiday, gave everybody 2 weeks off. So they've been closed. And when we went out the other day, it was Monday, and it was their first day back, and we noticed because there were people outside. They had this great outdoor seating area. And
the umbrellas are up.
And we were like, oh, it's open, because we were out doing something else. We walked toward the area, and we realized the Gazella's open, and we look at each other, we're like, yay! And then we see Marcio, who is one of our favorite people there at Gazella, and it's like, we're all buddies. Like, we walk up, Mark shakes his hand, and we're like, hey, it just felt like community. It felt like, I don't know, it felt exactly what it was. We knew the names of the guys who work across the street in the Gazella, and they know us now because this is our neighborhood. And they know Charlotte. Charlotte's the most popular girl on the block. But anyway, it felt good. It felt like this is, I don't know, it felt familiar, and like we were, again, as I've said 100 times, so welcomed and like acknowledged and loved, and I don't know.
Things came back into balance.
Yeah, it felt really good. So that's my Gazella. You just snorted. Listen, we love Gazella, and we love our neighborhood, and it's just, I don't know, it's gonna be hard to leave it. That's the part that's gonna be hard to leave, but we have to think that wherever we go, we'll do the same thing and create the same kind of experiences and friends, and
for sure.
So anyway, that's my story.
Excellent.
Today's a Q&A episode, though.
It is. Whoopee, the favourites.
Everybody loved the Q&A episode. So
I'm not surprised.
we're gonna definitely do this.
I did some good talking
often.
on it.
You did?
Yeah, that's why I
Good talking.
Good talking.
Good talking. All right, so what questions do we get?
So, the first question came was, what kind of work opportunities are there?
Oh yeah, we do get this question a lot.
We do. And we also, not just that we get it, but you see it in some of the Facebook forums as well.
Yeah, because it's the number one thing. Like, it's the number one
I want to
hurdle.
come there, and what do I do for work?
How do I survive?
One of the things, I know you've got some things you want to say, but one of the things I would say about it is, and I saw this from 2 or 3 Portuguese people that are within the Facebook group, where they were basically saying, really, you need to speak Portuguese in a lot of the surroundings. And I don't know how true that is. I think it's true.
I had an adverse reaction to that comment.
But I don't know that it has to be that way.
It's certainly helpful.
It will definitely help you, for sure. if you want to be in the service industry, or any industry really. But yeah, I wanted to just say, a couple of people had said, you need to speak Portuguese. Well, I don't buy that completely. I think clearly if you want to work in the doctor's office, a vet's practice, something like that,
you probably
you're gonna struggle, or you're really gonna need to have everything about you. But
yeah, I think that what we found, and what we will reiterate, because we've said this on the podcast before, but our experience, especially in Porto, in the big cities, even as travelers, we have not been reliant on speaking Portuguese in order to survive or thrive, to be honest. Yeah. That doesn't mean that we don't feel that we should be learning it, which we are, but it is not a make or break type of situation. Yeah. When it comes to work opportunities, I think the big overarching comment that I would make is, you've got a lot of young people here in Portugal who are leaving Portugal.
Yeah.
Because the work opportunities for them don't exist the way they envision them or want them, or they don't pay as well.
I think a lot of it is about
it's about salary, and it is something that is a problem here in Portugal, and it's affecting young people because they're kind of forced to move somewhere else. For work that meets their needs in terms of minimum wage, even just a decent salary, to
supporting themselves, moving out of mum and dad's home, or
all of that to say, as an immigrant coming over here, that is what you'd probably be faced with. So if you're thinking about coming here and snagging a job, like a local job, that's going to be a tougher situation than you coming here with an employer who says, yes, you can work remotely. That would be a D8 visa, not a D7 visa like the path that we took. If you do a D7 visa, though, you are allowed to work.
Yes.
On that D7 visa locally here in Portugal. A D8, I'm not sure you can. Because
you're freelance.
Right. You're basically saying, I'm a digital nomad, I'm working remotely, and I'm working for some other company that's not Portuguese based, right. Basically. If you own your own business, for instance, that is an ideal situation too, and that would likely be a D7 because it would be more passive income, I think, but it might be a D8.
You can certainly shape it as a D7.
Yeah. So again, this is, it's a tough one, right? Because I think you coming here and expecting to get local work doesn't really work with the visa, right? You have to prove to them that you have income in order to get your visa. So if you're not in a situation where it's like a retirement, passive income type of situation, and then you want to actually work while you're here, let's say you're retired but you want to work part-time, that's a situation that can absolutely happen. But part of the visa process is proving that you have income, so that they're not giving you a visa and then you don't have a job and you are now causing a burden on the country and the resources.
I mean, there's a separate one. I think it's a D2. It's a
student?
No, it's a work seeker.
Okay. Work seeker visa.
I think it's D2, but I forget the number.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there are a number of different ones out there. But if you're going to come and look to work here, then having some level of Portuguese is, I would say that even if you didn't need it for the day-to-day stuff, being able to walk up to somebody and say, hey, I'd like to work here, is there a job going? Yeah. But to actually do that in Portuguese, I think that is going to be massive. But again, I don't think that...
It's not a requirement.
It's not a requirement, but take it as you find it. And that's also just talking about Porto. It's going to be different in different cities.
The more rural you get, the less English that's spoken. And,
it's... I mean, we're going to find that out on Friday when we go to Pinel, which is out on the Douro. And it's it's kind of tourist area, but the Quinta is all, by and large, all Portuguese people. So again, it's just going to be very interesting to see the different dynamic of work and what you need to know in terms of from Portuguese language to make an opportunity work.
And a little plug here for those of you who don't know what visa you may fit under, go to VFS Global.
Yeah.
That is where you would start. So put in, I am an American, I want to go to Portugal, and then you can start to see what options are available in terms of visas. Again, we did a D7, which is a retirement/passive income visa. Once approved, we can work here, right? So right now we've been approved, we're here. Mark could go out and get a job, I could go out and get a job, whatever it is, locally in Portugal.
Yep.
The D8 is the digital nomad visa. So you have a job and they're sponsoring you and saying that you can work in Portugal, no big deal, or you have your own business that is your income for that. So there are other visas out there. We're not as familiar with those, but that at least gets you started.
Right.
All right, what else? What's the next question? Thank you for that question, whoever asked it.
I haven't. I
don't even remember.
I don't know.
I should start writing down names.
You really should. It'd be like,
shout
out. Next question was, what's our experiences on the healthcare? Healthcare and sort of insurance. Healthcare insurance.
What's your experience so far with the healthcare?
I love it. Absolutely.
You love what?
I love so I love the fact that we have a very good hospital within 10-minute walk from here.
Yeah.
I love the fact that I can go in there and I can get seen, or I can make an appointment.
You could probably get an appointment that day.
I can probably get an appointment that day to be seen.
Now this is a private hospital.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to that in a second.
Excuse me. When I go in there, whatever I want to talk about, there is no, okay, you're in, you have 15 minutes and then you're out the door.
Yeah,
Nothing like that. You can be in there for 45, 50, an hour, and you're not felt rushed. I love that because then I'm getting a sense that I'm being heard, and that somebody genuinely cares.
Absolutely no language barriers with the doctor.
No.
But
it is funny though, because in the reception area, obviously everybody's Portuguese, and only a couple of them speak English.
In the reception area.
What you have to do when you go in, you put your NIF number in, you get a ticket as to which counter to go to, and you're watching the board and it says, ticket number 827, go to counter number 4. And I'm looking at 4 and thinking, damn, she doesn't speak English. How's this gonna? But they are just genuinely so nice.
Oh, yeah.
They really are. And I know this is, but I think this is important as well, is because you're not just talking about the healthcare. Do I get the drugs? You're talking about it from end to end.
Yeah.
And that's from the starting to the end of walking out of the hospital through the reception area. Everybody is just so warm and genuinely want to help you.
Our experience has been really good with that.
I cannot fault that.
The actual, like for instance, our doctor speaks as clear English as I do. I have not been concerned about a language barrier. I felt like she listened. I felt like we got the care that we absolutely needed so far.
Yep.
It was fast, efficient. It was affordable.
I was going to say inexpensive.
So let's take it back a step though. So Mark is referencing the hospital here that is near us, and it is a private hospital.
Yep.
This is not a public hospital that would be on the national healthcare plan or system. So Portugal does have national health care. I hear that it can have some of the same challenges that, for instance, in the UK they do, where it's like it might take longer to be seen. And this is not emergency situations. I'm talking about if you need to set up an appointment with someone or a specialist or whatever, it may take a couple of weeks in order to get you in. On the national. Now, the reason why I keep saying private is because when you move here, you have the option to purchase private health insurance. And we chose to do that, number one, because we wanted to not be as much of a burden on the system.
Yep.
We wanted to make sure that if we could, as immigrants, be cognizant of that and buy a health insurance policy in order to go to a private hospital rather than always depending on a public stressed system, that we were going to do that. So we did. I think that it's somewhere around 200 and something euros for both of us a month. And we did not buy the cheapest plan, and we did not buy the most expensive plan. It was somewhere in between.
It was middle of the
So again, lots of different options to choose from there. But that was our choice. And we also get faster, quicker access in the private system. I'm so impressed with the hospital that we've gone to. It is like super high tech, like with the kiosks and the tickets and the boards and all of that stuff. I've been impressed with that. But here's what I'm impressed with was as a woman. I went and got my mammogram maybe a month or two ago. And not only did they do the traditional mammogram situation that I'm used to in the US, but they also did a part 2, which was a sonogram. And that was just how they operate. Like, it wasn't like something extra. It wasn't, I didn't pay extra for it. It literally was just how they operate to make sure that they take another step in order to identify any concerns. So I was impressed. It felt like I was probably even getting more testing done than I was in the US. And I felt very comfortable. So that's been our experience so far. We have not had a whole lot of health situations. I mean, so we haven't had any emergent, knock on wood, situations. We haven't had, because anything emergency, like if you were to call an ambulance here, 112, then they're going to take you to the public system. That's
exactly where you go.
And so, because all emergency situations are taken, are national like that. So anyway, but if we wouldn't be paying a penny. So every time we go to the doctor, what is it, like 17.50 euros or something? And then we pay for our health insurance and our prescriptions, which have been extremely cheap. I mean, extremely.
One of the things that I would say as well, from my perspective, when I've been, is they're not. You know, you can have a conversation with the doctor. We have the same doctor, and she is absolutely fabulous. But when talking about a particular condition or whatever, it comes down to her wanting to know. So, what do you want to try and do about it?
It's a collaboration. But you're right.
And I found it so nice that I could say, look, I don't want to take these tablets yet. I'd like to try and fix something myself over the next 3 months. But let's say we don't do tablets now because I'm not dying. But in 3 months when I come back, if things haven't progressed in the right direction, fine, I'll go on to the tablets.
Right.
But if I have, then we'll reassess again. Yep, that's fine. And I just found it so nice that they weren't like throwing pills at you and saying, "Here, go and buy this," and keep the farmer in big money. And again, different situations suit for different people.
I thought you said farmer. You said pharma, didn't you? Farmer.
What?
It's just funny. I thought you said you keep the farmer in something, and you were talking about big pharma. Are you talking about
like farmers?
Yes.
Oh, right.
Anyway, that's funny.
Gosh.
Got it.
Okay.
All right. What else? What's our last question?
Last question was, how are the locals welcoming us? Are they welcoming us?
This is a big question. I feel like we get this a lot. And if you've listened to our podcast before or up until this point, you will know that we have had the best experience.
Yeah, I mean, you can even tell that from this morning, the story with Marcia. You can tell that from the receptionist at the hospital, everybody.
The guy, the restaurant owner the other day who sang American Pie to me, bye, bye, Miss American Pie, as I was walking out the door.
Yep.
I mean, come on. I don't think
We'd
you
never
can
been
get
there
more
before.
welcoming.
Never been there before. It's a little hole in the ground, hole in the
ground.
Hole in the wall. This is sort of cafe stroke bar behind this
you never know
decrepit-ish style of building. and that's not being insulting, it's just what it is.
It's pretty old.
It is old. And you just walk through this alleyway and it just opens up into this garden.
Yeah. Anyway, we got to know him.
Yeah.
While we were there, and by the time I left, he was singing to me. Yeah. I feel like I have said it 100 times. In person, our experiences here in Porto and as travelers with Portuguese people has been nothing but loving and open and welcoming and helpful. All smiles and helpful, especially the minute you are, you try to speak to them in Portuguese. They get to know who you are, right? You're not the traveler or the immigrant who's trying to change the country that you're moving to, or saying, I'm not going to learn your language, or I'm not going to assimilate. The minute you show them that you're not that kind of traveler or immigrant, they are 100% welcoming. Yeah. Here's my caveat. The keyboard warriors show themselves. And again, can you tell over the past couple of episodes where I keep referencing, I've always been a social media person, but now that we've launched Portugal Junkies, I'm much more active on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and all that other stuff. And you know what happens. The minute you put yourself out there of any content, right, you're gonna have, right. I mean, it can get really ugly. Yeah. And so what I want to say about this question and social media is that you've got a lot of keyboard warriors, even here in Portugal, right, who have something to say about immigrants moving. And the bigger picture about that is that it's happening. I mean, immigrants are moving here because this country is lovely. The problem is that, as I referenced before, let's just say you've got young people here who are forced to move out of their country because they can't even get the kind of salary that allows them to live. Right. And yet you've got immigrants coming in with some money, and it's forcing all of the change in the economic status and the housing costs and all of that to rise. And it sucks. It 100% sucks for Portugal. And we get criticized all the time by keyboard warriors about this because we've moved here, and they feel like we're maybe aiding in that shitty situation. Yeah. But their blame is misplaced. I mean, that's how I feel. I feel like we are 100% respectful of this culture and this country, and we are assimilating as best as we can. Yep. And we want to even more, right? But I can't control the housing. I can't control the rate of rent. I can't control what the landlord charges us. Yep. And so I feel like the bigger picture of this is that you're going to have some people who do feel that way about immigration in general, just like the United States. You've got some people who welcome immigrants and feel like they add to the culture of the melting pot of the United States, and you've got some people who don't want any of y'all in our country. And I think some of that still does exist here. All I'm going to say is that the only time I've ever experienced that is like literally somebody commenting behind a keyboard. It has never been in person. And we live in a big city here. Right. I would think that by now we would have experienced some of that.
You would have
personally.
thought that if it existed on the ground in
I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying we haven't experienced it.
And that's not because we don't go to places where we might. We love going to some of the smaller, obviously, like mom and pop shops, because that's where you get the authentic flavours and tastes. That's why you're helping the culture, and you're putting your money. Listening to all these people. And Portuguese is a language. Number one, is very difficult to learn, but number two, when you have like the older generation, shall we say, talking to each other about something that happened or whatever it is, they speak so quick. Okay. I mean, I love listening to it. Don't understand a damn word.
We're trying.
Or maybe one word.
We haven't experienced literally one person.
Nobody has pointed a finger
Portugal
at me.
descent.
Nobody's pointed a finger at me and said, bugger off.
Yeah.
Not at all. And for that, I'm truly grateful.
I think you just have to temper it, right? I am not going to sit here and say that there isn't some rising irritation and tensions from some people in Portugal, because that would be ignorant and that would be not true, because it is happening. The gentrification and all that stuff, but the government hasn't done what it needs to do about it, and I can't change how I'm charged and what rate at which in order to find housing. Like, I can't. I would be happy to help. Tell me how to help. Right? But I just feel like those people are gonna be against immigration no matter what. That's how I feel about it. They're gonna be that type. And so I think that you can't ignore that it exists, and you have to do what you can as an immigrant to give back to the community, support local businesses, all that other stuff, as much as you can, when you can't really do anything else about the bigger problem. So, but I don't want to, it obviously exists, it just, we haven't experienced that. So hopefully that answers the question. Thank you guys so much. Keep them coming. I love answering your questions. We love answering your questions. It gives us some things to kind of like toss out there if we are missing key things that you guys are just like dying to hear about.
We've said it all the time.
And we're an open book. I mean, ask us anything.
You can look through the past videos, you can see that we're open.
At our own expense.
Yeah, quite often. But that's fine, whatever.
We are who we are.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, come back and see us next week.
Thank you very much.
We are so appreciative of you joining us and listening, and please share and tag and like and comment and all the things.
All of the above.
We appreciate you guys.
All right.
See you next week.
Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Take care. Bye.
Listen up, future expats. For more content about our move, the visa process, Portuguese culture and destinations, and tons of support resources for your own decisions and potential move abroad, follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Portugal Junkies.
Stay in touch and help us reach more people by subscribing here and following us there.
Cheers, y'all!